Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Redmen TV and your latest episode of Oppo Preview. My name is Dan Clubb. I'm delighted to be joined by Ricky Sachs from the Last Word on Spurs podcast for this one ahead of Liverpool taking on Tottenham this weekend. Ricky, how are you, mate? You good?
Dan, I'm better than what I was last night, suffering watching Tottenham against Manchester United. A little bit easier now until
Yeah,
Sunday will be.
yeah. Has your heart rate calmed down yet? Has your Apple Watch stopped beeping at you?
Oh my God. Honestly, this club is such high stress all the time. I mean, what other club do you know out there that are 3-0 up and you're panicking, thinking they're going to throw it away? I mean, it feels like it's only Tottenham, but yeah, absolute chaotic scenes. I've got to be honest, Dan, crazy scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. Edge of your seat stuff in the best and worst possible way, I think, right now, watching Spurs. We're going to become very familiar with each other as well over the coming weeks, obviously drawn in the Carabao Cup. So get used to this conversation around Liverpool and Spurs playing. Form-wise, let's start with that, shall we, buddy? Where to even begin, I guess, really, last night included. Battered Southampton, lost that 4-3 filler against Chelsea. The Bournemouth and Fulham results weren't what you were looking for. Before that, there was City, of course, some European games in the midst as well. I mean, inconsistent is probably an understatement.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, what is it, 3 wins in our last 10, which obviously isn't kind reading. But at the end of the day, look, it has been a real topsy-turvy season. We seem to be finding some form in terms of the Carabao Cup at least, but in terms of Premier League and Europa League, definitely Europa League in the recent weeks, it's been very much hit and miss with Tottenham. I mean, you're not quite sure what you're going to get. I mean, and like I said, I think Jamie Carragher out there puts it, I'm sure the neutral absolutely love watching Tottenham, but as a fan, you're just not quite sure what you're going to get week to week, Dan, which I think is the biggest worry at the moment. Again, for all the great about last night, scoring 4 goals again against Man United, we've done it to City as well. You always have got that tendency with Tottenham, they're going to chuck a few in. So you're just not sure what you're going to get week to week at the moment. And I think the Premier League has shown that with our form. I think we're the joint top goal scorers in the league, but we sit 10th, which kind of sums up Tottenham's inconsistency, really. It's quite crazy, Tottenham as a club, to be honest with you. Baffling.
Yeah, absolutely is. Yeah, you said throwing some in there, and Fraser Forster was unfortunately culpable of that last night. Going to touch on injuries if we can. Obviously, Vicario is the biggie in the goalkeeper department. Richarlison's also out, but defensively, really, Vicky, is where the problems lie. Yeah, missing some big players back there. I really like Mickey van der Ven. Romero's good, if a bit rash at times, a bit hot-headed maybe, but yeah, there's a real problem back there, isn't there?
Well, they've got 10 out at the moment in terms of the full first team squad. So to have 10 injuries to any side is going to decimate you. And then you have to maybe say credit to the players for finding a way against United last night, despite, like you say, Fraser Forster's best attempts to try and chuck it away on a number of occasions. And look, we are missing Van der Ven and Romero, there's no doubt about that. But I think we've said this a lot on Last One on Spurs, that the reason maybe for that is that they're asked to train to such high game intensity that when they take it into matches, their body simply can't cope with it. And, they've been asked to be deployed pretty much on the halfway line and covering the 6 yard box. I think for any team, any player, that's tough to do. And the nature of the way Spurs want to play does mean that I think, as we've seen with Angie's time at Celtic, you will incur a number of injuries. So I don't think it's going to change. I know Tottenham are reviewing the medical department at the moment, but they did this last season and we had a number of injuries. So I mean, it'd be nice if we could review the style of play to see if we can try and calm things down with that basis, but it doesn't feel like we're going to do that. I mean, Ange ended that press conference last night by saying to us all, "Are you not entertained?" And I think, for the whole of it, I think the neutrals are entertained. I think as a fan, but you're dreading thinking what can come next with this side. So, yeah, back to the original point, lots of injuries, big concern. I think when it comes to the Carabao Cup fixtures we've got at Liverpool, hopefully by the time, certainly the second leg comes around, being it's a month after the first leg, we'll hopefully have a number of these players back.
No, absolutely that. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see sort of how the land lies, whether it be in the Premier League in terms of the table or indeed fitness and injuries, because Liverpool are getting somewhere like back to full strength for this one. I think there's 2 players absent in terms of training right now, Canate and Conor Bradley. But yeah, fingers crossed for Liverpool point of view anyway, we can get some more players back by the time those games comes around. Key players wise, we spoke sort of about defensive fragility and the issues back there in terms of the personnel. Listen, Dom Solanke's scoring goals, 2 last night. I think he's been quite impressive. James Madison. Son looks more like Son again. But Dejan Kulusevski's been a revelation this season, hasn't he?
I was wondering, Dave, if you're going to come on to, because I think he does slip under many teams' radars, just how good he's been. I mean, he has been phenomenal for Tottenham this season. I'm looking for that word consistency really in terms of the squad and in terms of our results. Decky has probably been the only player that I can say has been the real constant, consistent player for Spurs really since the start of the season. He's taken that role as almost that centralised position now as his own, that number 10 role that he's been kind of jostling with Maddison for, and Kulusevski's made it his own, and he's had his strongest season so far at Spurs. I think he's been one of those players that has really stepped up in a number of games where we simply maybe haven't shown up. Again, he seems to love playing against Man City. Again, his score against Liverpool's been great. United as well, Chelsea as well. So he's scoring big goals in big games. And with Spurs, what they've got to come with that double header against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup, we have to hope that a player of his quality will be able to step up. So yeah, no doubt about it. He's been the standout of Spurs this season. And I think we're all just terrified that, with our injury record, God, we don't have to go on to him now because he's been phenomenal for Tottenham. So have to keep him fit if there's any chance of success for Tottenham this season.
Yeah, definitely. He's been banging form, and I thought he was really impressive again last night at the time of recording. I normally ask in these shows sort of what the approach will be, but that's futile when it comes to Ange Postecoglou and Spurs because we know full well. Normally it can sort of vary depending on opponents and whether you're home or away, but that's irrelevant here. So I'm going to skip over that one and go straight to what's your prediction?
I mean, look, Tottenham and Liverpool's is always a great game. For me, it's always a glamour game, Tottenham Liverpool. It's two Premier League sides that got a lot of history in there. Liverpool got their heritage in terms of winning. I think Spurs do have a bit of a mental block when it comes to playing Liverpool. I mean, again, I think the last time we really played well against you, you have to go back to that 4-1 at Wembley where quite simply Klopp them tore up the team, brought in obviously Van Dijk and Alisson. I think I don't want to say we take credit for what you did since that point, but I mean it was really the building blocks Liverpool put in place from that game that has put them into the side that they are now. I would probably, I think on the basis of Spurs, getting that result against United, I think, and Liverpool's form being a little bit, despite how good they've been, they've shown they've got tendencies to slip up. I think I'll say a 1-1, but I'm edging an optimism there with less than reality, if I'll be honest with you, Dan. I'll say a 1-1, but wouldn't surprise me with Liverpool edge it. I think it'll be a really tight game and will give us an intrigue into what that double header against the, obviously, Carabao Cup tie will look like.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's going to be sort of obviously the Premier League is the highest of stakes, but again, with what's to come down the road, it's going to be interesting to see how these games go and how they get formed and how they shape. Because as I said earlier on, we're going to get very familiar with one each other over the coming weeks and indeed couple of months. Ricky, top man, thank you so much for your time. Let people know where they can find the podcast and you and all that stuff, buddy.
Bless you, appreciate that. And I say a pleasure always to feature on here and speak to you when we do these previews. So yeah, we're across all the socials. Last word on Spurs. We provide post-match analysis to every game, previews to every game, feature specials, and go with the January transfer window coming. Let's try and get our sleep in now. I think I'm probably the same for you, Dan, over there. Obviously with you boys. So hopefully a busy next few weeks ahead. Having to talk about a lot of Spurs wins, and I'm sure, like I say, looking forward to collaborating again. We've obviously got these two massive Carabao Cup ties to come.
Absolutely. Top man once again. Thank you so much for your time. Everybody else, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Take care. I'll see you soon.